Falcoholic Live patrons, welcome to our July Falcons Q&A session with you, our patrons. Again, thank you guys so much for your support. We appreciate all you guys for tuning in, everyone for hanging out and submitting questions, those who couldn't make it live. We just really appreciate you guys, and we've honestly really enjoyed doing these shows with you. And I think we're gonna have perhaps some very exciting other things to announce soon in terms of stuff we're gonna be offering to patrons. I know we teased that we might have something cooking with Keenan Forney here, so look forward to that as we continue ironing that out, and we hope to have that all settled up in time for the regular season to get started here. But in the meantime, guys, I know there's a few of you here live. We have some questions also from offline, so if you have any questions you'd like to go ahead and ask, you can throw those in the chat and we'll get to those. I know Solaire is here. Welcome, buddy. We appreciate you. Randon Williams also, thank you, man, for coming in tonight. Yeah, guys, feel free to drop any and all questions you have. We'll get started here in just a second. Let me adjust my camera real quick because it's like really zoomed out for some reason. It's that widescreen lens, peek behind the curtain here. All right, here we go. Zoom in a little bit. Wait, that's too much. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. Before we get started, though, I want to thank my co-host. He is the Falcoholic himself, Dave Choate. Dave, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I was telling you earlier, I just basically got my voice back this morning, so happy to be here and talking.
Absolutely. Yep. It's great timing, to get your voice back for a Q&A session. So we appreciate your voice being cooperative for this whole process. Way to go there. But yeah, guys, I know we have some questions. Got a question from Solaire here and some other ones we're going to get to. Like I said, feel free to drop those in the chat and we will get to as many as we can here over the next, hour or so. All right. So Solaire's first question here. He says, since last week was the 150th episode, I wanted to ask what your favorite moment/meme of the show was so far, like the famous Brooks Reed spin move meme, etc. Dave Meat, obviously off limits, too obvious. So, yeah, I mean, oh man, there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good bits that we've done over the years. Man, to pick just one favorite, that's tough. I mean, I definitely loved all the Dirk Cutter slander. I was really getting into that. I was like the chief Dirk Cutter hater. And as we talk about Dirk Cutter, Eric Robinson appears. Eric, how are you doing today?
Fine time to join the show.
Yes,
see?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the current question we're on, Eric, is what our favorite, meme / moment / bit from our show has been thus far, in honor of our 150th episode that just aired. So I'm trying to figure out mine. So I'm giving you, some warning here. We can't pick Dave Meat because Dave Meat's too obvious. So, think about what your favorite, think about what your favorite one is. But yeah, I mean,
you said meme?
No, yeah, it could be like any like sort of bit or like running joke that we've done on the show, just like your favorite one.
Oh man,
so far.
Wow. Well, honestly, it might have been the times that we tried to avoid talking about 28-3, and we obviously end up segueing to it somehow, some way.
Yeah,
like we could just be talking about something completely different, but let alone we'll mention it at least once on the show. Like it's so hard to avoid.
Yeah,
I would say that's one, as well as I guess the frequent shows that we did where it's coming off of a Falcons loss, and we kind of knew that it was going to be so many viewers that were going to have so many different opinions. We noticed over a while, how those type of shows are the ones that really, reel the viewers in directly after a game, so they can just come there and air out all their grievances and things of that nature. And yeah, so that's been pretty cool over time. Wow, we did 150 shows, man.
Yeah,
wow.
Man. And that doesn't even count all like the unnumbered ones. Like we've probably done closer to 200, maybe even more than that at this point, just because know the post games technically aren't like numbered episodes, that sort of thing. Draft takes week 2. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, it's on to draft season after the Cowboys lost. That was a good one. You were 100% right too. So for the
Yeah.
record. Yeah.
Yeah, I started watching film that night. I said, "Yep, it's going to be a long season. Let me go ahead and
Yeah.
get started now."
Absolutely. You definitely had the right attitude there. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember because I know like our reaction to the tack pick was really funny. That one I still go back and watch sometimes just because like it's just
I
really
was the only one that was
hilarious.
celebrating.
Yeah.
I,
Um,
I, yeah, I was the only one that was celebrating, and I remember the natural reaction to that. Everybody was upset except me. I was the one guy that was like, "Yeah, we got it. He's the one." And yeah, I whiffed on that one hard.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. And I think we all wanted it to work, and his draft night antics, were so entertaining and so genuine that like everyone just instantly I think loved him, but it just wasn't meant
he's
to be
still
here in
known for
Atlanta.
that.
I know
He's
that's
still
the most notable thing he's done in his career so far. So
exactly. That's a testament to his play. That
yep,
we identify him as what he said on the stage when he got drafted.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So oof, but yeah, I don't know. My favorite like running bit still might be that Adnan hates Matt Ryan. I honestly can't remember how it even got started,
Yeah.
but just that somebody said to Adnan one time that he hated Matt Ryan, and he just took it on as like, yeah, since I hate Matt Ryan, I'm definitely cheering for Justin Fields. So we've just let it morph into its own thing. But honestly, you guys have been kind of the engine behind a lot of these things, like the Dave Meat thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure that may have been even you, Soler, that came up with that. I can't remember. I mean, it was one of you guys. That kind of took those things and ran with them and made them kind of just running jokes. So we appreciate you guys, your contributions as well. But Dave, I don't know if you have had a favorite like moment or anything like that from the show thus far. You haven't been on like a ton of episodes, but I know you like watch from afar, to make sure that we're keeping things ship shape here.
I was going to say the tack pick was probably my favorite, but I also, on a personal note, this past draft when I was on, Saturday afternoon, and like you could not see my face at all, and people were ragging on me and saying I was a hidden Mortal Kombat character and stuff like that. That was pretty great. I enjoyed that a lot. So
there is like a villainous vibe when Dave joins the show, because it just he's there, he has a hat on, it's pulled down over his eyes, it's kind of a dark aura when he's
a dark aura. Yes.
It's kind of like a Dateline episode where they're interviewing someone and they want to hide their identification, and it's that person that just has.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely going to show up with like the Dateline voice masking and everything one of these times. Like I'm due to do that. But
Yes.
Thank you for saying I have a dark aura. That is easily the most menacing description of me I've ever heard.
That's the thing. Like we always like joke about Dave, cutting our funding and stuff, but Dave's like the nicest guy ever. So it's it's definitely funny, that he has this sort of like shadowy figure, vibe, in the show mythos, even though that's like totally opposite of who he is. So
well, I cut my own lighting funding, so that's why we're here. So.
I know I try to make it a habit to be on my P's and Q's when Dave is boss. So
yep.
I don't want to do anything to mess anything up and get our show pulled and get us sent back to the basement where we were before.
Yep. We got to be careful. We can't.
I don't want to go back.
No, we can't go back.
Don't fire me, Dave.
Look, he saved us from blogging dirty, and he can send us right back there. So
I'm not sure I could do that actually, but yeah,
yeah,
I'll look into it.
Okay, yeah, that we should use that as punishment maybe sometime. For the new hires, we'll threaten them with that if they don't stay in line. So
I think that's fair. Yeah,
I think that's a good call. Well, we'll workshop that. But yeah, thanks. That was a good one, Soler. That was a good question. Okay, I apologize. I can't find the name of who sent it, but I remember it. The question, and someone was wondering what our predictions were for running back behind Mike Davis. I know we like kind of touched on it on Wednesday's show, but there was a question about that. On Wednesday's show, I predicted that it might actually be Quadri Olison who ends up taking like the second most carries in the backfield, because he seems to be sort of getting the attention of the staff right now. He was apparently taking a lot of the first team reps in OTAs, and he's kind of a similar player to Mike Davis, not as accomplished a receiver obviously, but similar build. Olison's quite a bit taller, but they're both kind of short, stocky, thick, physical running backs, and Davis, has maybe a little bit more agility and some more receiving ability, but in terms of what sort of plays you can run, I think they both can thrive there. And then at running back 3, I don't know. I mean, it just depends. Like, I think Javian Hawkins probably like should be the running back three, but the team seems sort of obsessed with giving Cordell Patterson carries. So I don't know how that's going to shake out. But Dave, what's your take on how the running back depth chart is going to shake out behind Mike Davis?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Hawkins just yet. I just wrote something today about being careful about investing too much in like your training camp heroes. So I'm going to take my own advice and not go nuts and say Hawkins, as talented as he is and as large a role as I think he can have, say that he's going to be RB2 by the end of the year. I think what you said is basically right. I would expect Cordarrelle Patterson to get the second most touches out of the backfield, but I would expect Allison to get the second highest number of carries. I think they will use him. I think they like him well enough. I think that's evident. I think he's always had the talent to be, a good bruiser behind decent offensive line, which I hope we have. And so I think they'll make better use of him than Dirk Cutter did, which is weird because he was drafted under Dirk Cutter. But we're not here to talk about Dirk Cutter. Maybe,
unless we get asked about it. Yeah,
exactly. But my expectations for him as a receiver at this point, like it's an unknown to me. I don't know that I trust him to have a major role there. So I think Patterson, because he's going to get some carries out of the backfield. I think Dave Ragone being here is going to virtually guarantee that, given that he used him that way a little bit in Chicago, along with is it Charles Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a total blank on that. Sorry.
Charles. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do expect him to be a receiver out of the backfield. More than he is carrying the ball, but he will get some touches, and I think Allison will, for all intents and purposes, be Davis's direct backup. So it'll be a little bit muddled. I do see Hawkins having some kind of role here if he makes the team, which I am expecting him to do, but I think it'll be largely split between Patterson and Allison behind Davis. But I also expect Davis, if he's healthy, to dominate the touches, at least early on. I think he's good enough to do it. So I think it'll end up being not moot, but not a huge part of the team's success or problems this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Eric, what's your takeaways on that running back depth chart behind Mike Davis right now?
I don't know why there's a establishment as far as thinking the running back three needs to be a scat back type ball carrier, because that's not always the case depending on the offense. If you look at Green Bay, they don't really have scat. I don't consider Aaron Jones a scat back. I definitely don't consider AJ Dillon one. And when they had Jamal Williams last year, he had a significant role. That was their 3-man rotation, and none of those guys are those quick, shifty, let's get them in space type guys. They're all physical runners. So I think that's kind of sort of what the Falcons have here. I don't mind Cordell Patterson being that running back three, utilizing that role, coming in on third down, because I feel like in those situations he can be a mismatch, and he can be an asset compared to having a smaller guy that's kind of sort of like what they had with Ito Smith last year, or even with Javian Hawkins this year. I do like Javian Hawkins, but I don't. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I agree with both of you that Allison is probably going to be the RB2, quote unquote. He's probably going to get the second most carries in the backfield. But I think this offense really is going to utilize Cordell Patterson a lot more than we think they will. And it may not be relegated to just running back. I mean, he may see some time in the slot. He may see some time even as a H back or as a tight end. He's going to be on offense. He's going to get some touches. But I don't mind that role being for him. That running back 3 role, I don't mind that being for him.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how it shakes out. Obviously, the preseason will probably go a long way in determining, the sort of bottom of the depth chart, and we'll see once camp starts. Also, yeah,
you can already say he's the best receiver out of the backfield today. So if they wanted to call up some screens or quick dump outs, why not? A guy that's that's a receiver that's played, he's used to catching the ball. He's used to being in space. He's used to trying to, to get out and create plays on the perimeter. That's why I say I feel like he can play that role. He may not look the part, but I think his ability, he can give them a different dynamic here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I agree. I agree. I think that's interesting to think about for sure. Um, yeah, I'm really interested to see how it shakes out in preseason because they honestly don't have a ton of running backs in here. They brought in the two UDFA's, but sometimes we see them splitting carries between like 20 guys, and we just don't get to see a lot from each one. But it seems like they've kind of taken attack this year of sort of like we know like what we have in Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. I don't expect either of those guys to get much preseason work at all. It's the same at quarterback. They didn't bring in a bunch of extra quarterbacks. They have AJ McCarron and Felipe Franks, both ones probably going to get significant reps, not just a series here and there. So I think that'll go a long way in determining what the order is going to be with Olison, with Javian Hawkins, and with Caleb Huntley, and which ones end up making the team when it's all said and done. So,
And I'm pretty sure you guys will agree with me on this, but it's really is going to be a welcoming sight watching late in games where they have a lead and they can lean on a physical run game to close the game out. I mean, they haven't had that element in quite some time, and it's really been missed in Atlanta. So I hope they're able to have that aspect this season where it's late in the game, a defense is a little tired, and now they got to tackle Mike Davis and Quadri Olison in the fourth quarter.
right.
And that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think we saw that under Shanahan, where the running game was actually productive enough that they could lean on it late in games and
Yeah.
not just get nothing and just
Right.
go 3 and out, take 45
Right.
seconds off the clock, and just kick it right back to the other team. So that will help. I think having some sort of functional run game is a big deal
Right.
in terms of just helping you close out games and helping your offense stay on track down to down. So, all right. We got another question from Solaire here. So his question is, what team could the Falcons upset this season? One to this, he calls to mind the Niners in 2019. The Falcons upsetting, one of the eventual Super Bowl teams. Solaire says he thinks it'll be Buffalo in Week 16. And it's because of my sake, because I'll probably be at that game. So yeah, I mean they've never lost a game that I've covered with credentials. Now they've lost games that I've been to as a fan, but I've been to 3 games as a credentialed reporter, and they've won all 3. So if I go to that game, we're winning that one. So yeah, that's a good pick, Solaire. That's a good one. But yeah, what do you guys?
And they came awfully close to upsetting the defending Super Bowl champions last year. I mean, they were an AJ Terrell interception away from closing that game out and walking away with a win. So they're always good for one at least
Right.
every season. I don't think it's going to be Buffalo. Traveling up to Buffalo in December with a Buffalo team that's probably a top 3 seed in the AFC. They're clicking on all cylinders. Cold weather. It's probably going to be snowing there. I don't think it's going to be that game. If I have to pick an upset, because of how highly I feel about this team, I would consider it an upset. But I can see this team stealing one in Miami after the bye week.
Yeah.
I'm high on Miami this year. I think Miami can definitely be a playoff contender. So I feel that and I definitely feel that their roster, their talent is better than the Falcons. And so I feel that's a significant win. I feel like that is a quality win, especially on the road. And you guys know how they play against AFC teams almost every year. Like
Yeah.
It's just something about playing AFC teams, and they kind of owe Miami one from 4 years back. But yeah, I would consider that an upset. I would think that would be one. I don't think they're beating the Bucks, and fans may not understand this, but they probably will during the season. I don't think they're beating Washington. Washington is a good team, man. That team, they're my dark horse Super Bowl contender.
Wow. Okay.
And
Big Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. Yeah.
I love the defense.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
defense, that is a defense that is capable. That defense damn near beat Brady last year. Let's just be
Right.
quite honest.
They were right
So
there. Yeah.
yeah, they were right there. So I don't think they're going to win those games. So I would say Miami.
That's a good one. That's a pretty good one. Dave, do you have a pick?
Yeah, I'd say Buffalo because at that point they might be forfeiting. But
I wasn't
if
gonna
you
say it, but you're the boss man.
Yeah.
You can go there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, if you ignore Cole Beasley, patient zero, I think the most likely upset is Tampa Bay at home for the Falcons late in the year, and I think part of the reason there is just Tampa had the best injury luck in the entire NFL a year ago. They were very, very fortunate. They were a very healthy team, and that's not taking anything away from them. They won the Super Bowl. They're obviously very good, very talented. I still expect them to be a steamroller in the NFC South this year, but I think that later on in the year, they're probably not going to have quite the same luck with injuries as they did a year ago. I would look specifically at the 43-year-old quarterback and wonder if he's going to be healthy and at 100% if he's playing. And I think that the Falcons at home, hopefully at that point, can get the job done there. So that would be my upset pick. I think they're going to get crushed early in the season against Tampa Bay, but I think just attrition might change that later on.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely where I was going to go to. Was that I think it's week 12, and I think Solaire pointed that out too as another possible good option. Yeah, I mean, I think it's division games, and you're going to be in every division game generally. It's just that's how the NFC South tends to be. And I think by that time, the Falcons hopefully should be pretty settled in the new offense. Hopefully firing on all cylinders and kind of trying to finish strong after a somewhat tough beginning of the season, with the Bucks right up there, and then in Washington, the Dolphins, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Bucks game in Week 12 would be my top choice. But yeah, there's a couple.
Would you guys consider beating Dallas an upset?
I don't know at this
road?
point. Yeah, I mean, it might.
No?
I mean, it probably could be if it's on the road. I mean, I think that could be an upset. I think that probably would count.
Okay.
I think so too. Yeah, it's. I don't know what to expect from that defense, but it can't be worse than when it had Mike Nolan a year ago, and they've got Dak back. So yeah, I'd say that would be an upset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. They're off to a great start. Their defensive coordinator is up there having them listening to Run DMC songs and writing down lyrics. And I don't know how that ties into, game planning and X's and O's, but hey, do your thing.
If he had done that in Atlanta, would we have won a Super Bowl? Let's discuss it. So
that's our next question.
It is worthy. Yeah, it is worthy of a discussion. Absolutely. His name slips my mind. I can't think of his name right now. The defensive coordinator up there in Dallas.
Jan Tim, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Sounds pretty close.
I think.
Yeah.
Some ball-headed guy. That's all I remember him as. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, watch it.
Hey, yeah, we can't be dissing no bald-headed folks in here. Okay.
No.
What?
Allowed,
What?
Yeah. I'm kidding. Yep. But okay, yeah, I know we had another question. Crap. I wrote down the actual questions, but I forgot to actually copy who sent them. So I apologize about that. But yeah, I know we had a question about filling the last roster spot. Would we rather have an edge rusher or a left guard? And they didn't say specifically what player it would be, but just say you could have your pick of whatever edge rushers are on the market or whatever offensive linemen are on the market. Which one would you rather the Falcons fill that last spot with? A left guard starter or an edge starter. So, Dave, I'll let you take that one first.
Yeah, it probably depends on the player, right? I don't want to be wishy-washy about it, but if you're getting me Justin Houston, I'm psyched, and I don't care about guard at all. If you're getting me the 15th best edge rusher on the open market, probably more excited about upgrading at guard. But my preference would be, the pass rush. And I think, I've talked about this throughout the offseason in a variety of places. People are like, don't you think the offensive line is a bigger concern than the pass rush? And I'm like, no, because I have a hard time identifying one guy outside of Grady Jarrett on this defense that is a high-end pass rusher. And, I know Dean Pease is a good coach. I know he's going to bring a lot of pressure from everywhere, and hopefully that'll help. But I would feel a lot better if we had better pass rushers on this roster. And I think that this is a golden opportunity, having this open roster spot and a little bit of cash to try to make that happen. So my preference is definitely let's add to that. And then if Josh Andrews and Jalen Mayfield completely wilt at left guard, then Nick Easton is still hanging around out there. As far as I know, I don't think he's been signed. So
That's true.
maybe his price will get driven way, way down. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, maybe that Terry Fontenot connection can get it done, for Nick Easton to come here. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I think it's hard to say no to Justin Houston at this point. Like, I think he's by far the most interesting player available. But I mean, left guard is certainly a problem if Jalen Mayfield is going to be playing swing tackle or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'd still lean towards the edge with Justin Houston being my preferred player. But where do you stand on that debate right now, Eric?
Yeah, it's got to be edge. I'm kind of surprised they haven't brought one in for a visit yet. That may be happening over training camp. Of course, we'll see. But it's got to be edge rusher, man. That's the one position. That's the biggest concern, in my opinion, on this roster right now.
Yeah, I just wrote up that article, and it's real bad.
Yeah. I'm not really convinced. Will Pease, garner up some sacks and some pressure numbers? Absolutely, he's gonna throw the kitchen sink at teams. But if we're talking just pure edge rushers, guys, that are paid to get after the quarterback and bring them, like, I don't feel confident at all. I don't feel confident in Dante Fowler. I really don't feel confident in anything else around him. There's a lot of unproven question marks around him. So it's got to be edge rusher right now, man. Like I said, I'm surprised they haven't brought anyone in for a visit or a workout at this point. I mean, they have the money, they have the funds to do so. So it's kind of puzzling there a little bit, but
yeah. I don't know exactly what it is that they're waiting for either. Like, it's I guess it's maybe like we want to see how these guys perform in camp or like a preseason game. But like if you wait too long, Houston's gonna get scooped up. So right. I mean, clearly they're not that worried about that. So.
And it's not even Houston, honestly. Even just, Geno Atkins is out there, and I know Geno Atkins doesn't really, answer the question when it comes to pure edge rushers, but I think he's a quality defensive lineman at this point in his career that can add a little something. He can add a little juice to the defensive line at least, but they haven't brought him in for a visit. Quan Short was just recently cleared by doctors for the upcoming season. And, maybe his bill of health is good enough to sign at this point to a 1-year deal. But they haven't brought anyone in.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I mean, because there are other guys out there, too. Like, we talked about him, I think, a couple shows back. Olivier Vernon, Trent Murphy, Alex Okafor, Adrian Claiborne. Yep. Like, there are guys out there that can play, Jabal Sheard, like guys out there that can play at least a rotational role and give you something, more than what they have. But so far, Kamale Correa, too, is a name that's been floated. Guys that can at least give you some kind of production, because right now it's like is Steven Means going to be the starter, like opposite Fowler?
Man,
is it? I mean, it could be Tawadi Mariner too, I guess, but
I'm not feeling good about that, man.
No, that's a little scary for sure. Yes, I missed it earlier, but Soler asked about Michael Thomas, which the Saints have apparently lost up until October, or perhaps even later. He says Saints lost Michael Thomas. Are they going to be really bad? I mean, I think the potential is definitely there for the Saints to kind of fall off a cliff. I mean, the defense, I think, is like good enough where they're not going to be, 4-12 or something like that.
Are they?
But not at defensive tackle. That defensive tackle group is a disaster. Well, they make the Falcons' edge group look good.
I saw it earlier today as well. There's still a possibility that Lattimore may not be there at the beginning of the year because of his arrest back in March. He can be suspended. Right. They lost they lost Janoris Jenkins on the other side, of course, and they're probably going to be leaning on some rookies there at
Yep.
corner.
Mhm.
I the absence of Michael Thomas. Now they dealt with this last year. They dealt with it last year. They were able to right the ship a little bit without his presence being there. Can they do it 2 years in a row? I don't know.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
probably going to miss about half the season, and you get off in a league like this where it's 17 games, and there's still a little hanging uncertainty as far as every game is going to be played. A team like that, they get off to a 2-5, 2-6 start, and I think they're buried at that point, especially in the
Right.
NFC.
Mhm.
Um, so it's going to be interesting. Welcome in new quarterback in Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston or a combination of both. Whoever's throwing the ball, I really don't care. Um, we'll see what Sean Payton can do, but that's a punch to the gut for that team, man, coming into
Yeah.
the season, given what they already lost this offseason.
Right. David Onyemata got suspended.
Yeah, right.
They lost Emmanuel Sanders and Jared
Yep.
Cook, who were two
And
of their
Jared Cook.
leading receivers,
Yep.
to
Mhm.
free agency. They lost Sheldon Rankins and Malcolm
Right.
Brown to free
Right.
agency, who were their other
Then,
defensive tackles.
right. Then of course Breeze retired, and
Breeze
yeah.
But
retired.
Sean Payton is a great coach. It'll be fine.
It'll be just fine. People
A-
forget
apparently so.
he went 7-9 3 years in a row. Not too long ago. So people
Yeah.
forget about that. He's not immortal. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Saints, Dave? Are they looking like maybe they actually are going to be awful, like we all have secretly hoped? Not secretly, just openly hoped, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no real secret there, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about awful, but I don't think, I think they had their opportunity to sort of run the NFC South for a few years, and, they drove that car as far as it could take them, and every time the engine blew up before the finish line, and that was great. So now they are probably going to stink. I think I have the Falcons penciled in to beat them at least one game this year, maybe two. And I think that every time you see a new injury, a new report that Taysom Hill might be starting, etc., it's hard to take them seriously as a contender anymore. I think they wisely, went all in as much as they could on trying to win while they had that window, and they still had Breeze, and it just didn't work out. And now they are going to pay the piper. That was going to be true, whether or not they had any of these injuries, suspensions, etc., that they're going to be suffering through. But if you look at it now and say, no Michael Thomas for weeks, weak receiver group, like you guys said, a ton of different depth concerns, potentially starters missing time. I just don't see how it happens for them. They are not, a special team in the sense that they have one or two guys who can lift everything, or the best coach in the NFL or anything like that. So I see them being around a 450 to 525 team, because we can't say 500 anymore, which is throwing me.
Yeah, that's gonna definitely throw me off as well.
So
Um,
before the end of October, they have Washington, Seattle, the Bucks, the Patriots on the road, and they also open the season with the Packers. So they have, I mean, those are going to be some tough games, and
right.
that's 8 weeks into the season. So they're not going to have much of their arsenal there, and of course teams are going to game plan, eliminating Kamara out of things. So we'll see how they go, but this may be the season where we see the Saints fall flat on their face.
Yeah, yeah. They have to play the Packers in week 1,
Yeah.
Patriots week 3, which maybe it'll
Yep.
be better this year. We'll see. Washington week 5. Well, I guess I don't know if it's
Hmm.
week 5, but it's sometime in that range.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's around
and
week
then
5
yeah,
at Seattle.
Seahawks. Yep, and
Yeah.
then Bucks.
And the Bucks.
All
Yeah.
before the month of October is over, which is when
Yeah.
Michael Thomas will probably come back sometime in November, assuming he's on track with his recovery. But
Right.
it's it that's dicey. Like, that there's not a lot of easy wins in there. I mean, they play the Panthers and
No.
the Giants, but other than that, I mean, I don't know if they'll be favored in any of those other games, honestly. I mean, obviously if the
No.
Packers don't have Rodgers, then that kind of changes things, but um Yeah, I mean,
I
I
mean,
think, yeah,
even if the Packers don't have Rodgers, they still that's still a talented team. Now, can they put it all together and win games? We don't know.
right, right,
But they're not, even with Rodgers not in the picture. Of course, him not being there changes things significantly. But
right,
you still have Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones is still there that you can lean on. AJ Dillon is gonna develop. Eventually, in my opinion. They still have some talent there. Even if Rodgers is not in the picture, I still don't look at this as like, oh, that's an easy win for the Saints.
right.
I think they can still lose that game. To be quite honest with you.
They could. I mean, they could lose to any of these other teams too. But I mean, I think
Right.
they're only going to be favored in two of those first, 6 games or whatever. So,
Yeah.
um, or 7 games even. So yeah, I mean, if they're 2-5 going into November when Michael Thomas comes back, I mean, it's going to be hard to dig out of that hole. I mean, they've done it before a lot, but they also had Drew Brees and an offense that was, good. Like, I don't
Right.
know if that offense is going to be good anymore. I mean, I think the run game will be good, but
Yeah.
Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill throwing to Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, and Deontay Harris for 7 games doesn't sound like my idea of a great offense. And
Yeah.
without anything at defensive tackle, I mean, I feel like that defense is susceptible to just getting run on. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They have $11 million left, so we'll see how they decide to spend it. But there's not free agent wide receivers available, so it can't be a wide receiver. Maybe they could go after somebody else. But
Is Dez still there? Dez still
yeah,
out there?
yeah, Dez still out there.
Okay. Yeah, you can still kind of kick the tires on Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
See what you can. I'm joking. Don't. Please, no.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely going to do that now. Yeah,
The timing is bad. The timing of this is really bad. It is right before training camp.
yeah. Which begs the
So-
question: what? Like, reportedly, he was supposed to maybe consider getting the surgery like at the end of the season. So it's like,
Yeah.
why did he wait? Why did he wait
Yeah.
until now?
For fans that don't know, this is an injury that he suffered during the season.
Yeah.
And he waited well into the offseason to have the surgery. He didn't have the surgery until June. So why? I don't know. We may never know, to be quite honest with you. But the timing is really off because, again, training camp is here. You got a new quarterback. You bring in new quarterbacks, as new starters at quarterback. They're going to want to try to build a rapport with the top weapons. Well, guess what? One of your top weapons is going to be out for the first 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Well, because they're not going to sniff the playoffs, so they don't have to worry about Michael Thomas putting up a 0 in a playoff game. So
Nice.
one way or the other, they're all set that way. Yeah.
Yep. That at least prevents that from happening. So, yeah. All right. So we got another question here. Let's see. So, yeah, unrelated to the Falcons, what are our way too early Super Bowl predictions? Solaire says he thinks it's going to be the Ravens versus an NFC West team, but he can't decide which one. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm a sucker for teams that have struggled, so I'm going to go with the Bills as my Super Bowl pick for the AFC, just because there are kindred spirits in suffering. But yeah, from the NFC, it's so wide open. Like, I just don't know. I guess maybe I would lean towards like Los Angeles Rams. But again, it's pretty wide open. I mean, I think you could make a case for just about any of the NFC West teams if everything goes right. Eric,
That division
I know you
is
were.
going to be a
Yeah,
that division
it's gonna be a
bloodbath.
Yeah. But Dave, you want to take the first crack at this one? Otherwise, who are you thinking in terms of a possible Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Bills again. Like you said, I think my wariness with them again is they seem to have some very prominent anti-vaccination folks, and I don't wish anything on any of them, but obviously if they do get sick, if they have to forfeit any games, if anything like that should happen, seems unlikely, but you never know. That would really throw the season off in a major way. But my best friend growing up is a Bills fan. They've obviously had a rough go of it, losing 4 Super Bowls in a row, and they are really talented, and I think good enough to make the Super Bowl. So I'm going to pick them. It's a little bit of a hopeful, I wish good things for the franchise and a little bit of a belief in the talent. And then on the other side of things, that's a tough one. I think, the loss of Cam Akers does throw me a little bit. I'm wondering how the Rams are going to make up for that. But I think if you look at the talent level, the caliber of coaching there, certainly the addition of Stafford, who I think, I hate the Stafford and Ryan comparisons. They're chronic. They're going to keep happening. But Stafford is very good. He's clearly an upgrade for them. And I think if all goes well and they don't suffer any more injuries, they're probably the logical choice for the NFC Super Bowl representative. And then, that'd be an interesting Super Bowl. Like Bills Rams is not a permutation I'd even think about seeing 5 years ago, right? So, that's my early pick, I guess. You can talk me into the Falcons if they're 2-0 after 2 weeks.
Yes, then it won't be time for draft takes after week 2 if they're 2-0.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
We are right in it.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Eric?
I'm going to go against the grain here a little bit. Yes, the Bills are a definite Super Bowl contender. And, of course, we can't eliminate the Chiefs. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say the Browns. The Browns make it out of the AFC. I love their blueprint. They just need to put it all together. And if they get a healthy season from OBJ, Mayfield continues to ascend the way he has over the past year or so, that run game is going to be dominant. It's going to be one of the best run games in the league. I think the Bills scratch and claw their way. I mean, not the Bills. I'm sorry. The Browns scratch and claw their way out of the AFC. So I'm going to say the Browns. And I mentioned it early in the show. I'm going with Washington. I really do like what they have there. Is Fitzpatrick a glamorous name, at the quarterback position? No, but neither was Jimmy Garoppolo, and the 49ers made their way to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago behind him. And, if I had to choose one today, I would definitely lean towards Fitzpatrick over Garoppolo. So I like what's around him. McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson. I think De'Ami Brown is going to be a huge weapon for him this year as a rookie. Logan Thomas is starting to come into his own as a tight end. And of course, I absolutely love their defense, especially their front seven. I think that's the best defensive line in football. And I think that defense, that was a playoff defense last year. Now they've matured and they've added a couple more pieces this offseason. So I think they're an even better defense. So I'm going to say Browns and I want to say the Redskins. I really do, man. It's weird. They still don't have a damn mascot, whatever. So the Browns and the football team out of DC. Yeah, let's say that. Whatever.
Yep, the football team. I always hate writing that.
Why is it taking so long?
Like, how do you say, it's not like the Falcons, it's like what are they, the football teamers or something? Like, I don't know.
They've already punted to 2022. They're like, yeah, we can't come up with nothing now. Let's just skip this year. We'll deal with it next year.
We'll get back. We'll
reconvene. Don't end up with like the Senators or the House of Representatives or something like that.
Yeah. Why is it taking 2 years to come up with a team with a mascot or a team name or whatever?
Well, Cleveland just did it in like a year, like they turned it around in a year, and I know people are divided on it, but it's fine at worst, just pick a name.
Yeah, I mean they're like they had the easiest layup ever in the Washington Warriors, and they're like, no, we can't do that because we don't want like any reference to indigenous people. It's like a warrior doesn't have to be an indigenous, like you. It could be a Roman warrior, it could be a.
Tell that to Golden State. I'm pretty sure Golden State is like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
we're not our team after any indigenous people, but
yeah. It's just,
I don't know what's taking them so long, but
yeah.
But I think this is the year. This is the year for both of those.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. That's a spicy one. All right. Well, guys, that's going to bring us almost to an hour here. So, if anybody else has a question, we can do one more real quick. Before we get out of here, want to thank, obviously, all of our patrons again for your support. We do appreciate you guys. We're going to have some more interesting content coming up for this season. Some new things we're excited to roll out. I know this is like the dead zone right now, so we appreciate all of you diehards for sticking out and coming out for this show here right before we get to the interesting part finally of the off season, with training camp starting next week. But otherwise, guys, let me thank my wonderful co-hosts and guests this evening. First of all, Dave Cho, he is at the Falcoholic. Dave, anything that's coming up you want to plug?
Just training camp and our training camp coverage. I know it's going to be spectacular. I know Kevin, you'll be there. I certainly hope. And I know that
we'll leave that for the next show. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I know that we're going to have great training camp coverage. I like to think we always do, and all of us have been waiting so long for this. Hopefully, you've been checking out our preview series from Kevin on each position ahead of training camp, and thinking a little bit about where this team is and where they're going. So it's going to be great to have something concrete to chat about very soon. So look forward to that.
Yes, absolutely. Then we also have with us Eric Robinson. He is at _Eric_Robinson. Eric, anything that you're working on right now you want to let the people know about?
Yeah, I'm working on trying to move, which sucks.
Yeah.
I hate moving. I cannot wait till the day where we're able to snap our fingers and our whole house is packed and we're at our destination in a matter of minutes. I can't wait till that day. Outside of that, there's really not much going on right now.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you making time for the show.
No problem.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. And good luck with the move. And we're also very excited to see how that ESPN adventure goes. Then, it's exciting stuff, man. Looking forward to it. Let's see. So yeah, we got Solaire's asking if we will cover preseason. Yes, it is my intention to cover preseason again. Doing our play-by-play. We'll see if Eric is available for those. If not, I may have to find another co-host for that. But I'm sure between everyone at the Falcoholic, someone will be willing to take on that.
Fun.
Yeah.
Those are fun. They got a little dry in the second half. When the starters were.
Yeah, we don't have the fourth preseason game anymore, so we don't have to suffer through that one again.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So
we will be working on that. Yeah, as Dave said, assuming all goes to plan, I will be at training camp for the first, I think, 6 days. So hopefully I'll have that fresh content for everyone to check out, including I'm hoping to do live shows immediately following practice for each of those 6 days. So check out that stuff next week. But until then, guys, we're going to be bringing you, like Dave said, lots of great training camp coverage no matter what. So stay tuned for that. And again, thank you all of our patrons for your support. 19 patrons now over the first, I guess half a season and full off season that since we started it. Just the level of support's been just awesome, and we just appreciate you guys for sticking with us through this sort of first season while we're kind of getting our feet under us in terms of what to do for the Patreon channel and all that stuff. And everyone else, I know that this is going to be public also after the recording's over, so everyone else just for watching and commenting and taking part, we appreciate all you guys too. So thank you guys so much for your support and your patronage, both on Patreon and otherwise. Until next week, guys, I'm Kevin for Dave and Eric. Have a great night, folks, and we'll see you next week.